So, for this week and next week, we're just going to review some of the basics in English, okay? Because I wanted us to make sure that we understand all of the easy stuff before we start doing the more difficult things, okay? So today is going to be really easy. Yay, easy! Here's our packet for the week. Okay. All right. Okay, so we are talking today about the simple present, which you're already going to know. And I think we're going to focus today on questions because I think that's probably the most difficult part. But we'll do the way I teach is verbs is positive, negative, and question. And so that way we get everything that we need to know, and then we'll practice a lot. Okay? Okay. So let's do, for positive, let's do the verb. We'll do the verb write. Okay? So we're going to do the verb write. Let me zoom in. Okay, so for I, what would it be? I write, right? Correct? I write, you write. Now in simple present for he, she, and it, what do we need on the verb?
Writing?
The S. So the S, that's present continuous, which we're going to do on Wednesday. So for present simple, he, she, and it, so he writes with the S. Okay? So for he, she, and it, in simple present, you need an S on the verb. All right? And then everyone else is right. Everyone else is right. No S. So the only one that has the S is he, she, and it. Okay? All right. We got that. Yes? We'll practice it. Okay, so now that's positive. So now let's do negative. Okay? So to make regular verbs negative, we have to use the verb do. Okay? So we do not and then the verb. So we could say do not write. Okay? Or we have a contraction. I don't. Right? The contraction is I don't. So you can say I do not write, but usually we say I don't write. Okay? Okay, now for he, she, and it, does anyone remember? It's not, we don't use don't. Yes. Okay. So, the do is for I, you, we, they. So he, she, and it, we're going to say doesn't. Okay? And then up here in the positive, there's an S at the end of writes, right? So are we going to say doesn't writes? No, because we only need one S in the verb. Okay, so in the positive, the only place we have to put the S is writes. In the negative, our S moves to doesn't. Okay, so doesn't write. We only need one S. So the S moves to doesn't in the negative. And so the second verb, write, does not have an S. Okay, we'll do some practice with that. So I think it'll get more clear because that's also in the question. Okay? All right, so then we, you, and they is all don't. Don't write. Don't write. Don't write. Okay? So the only one that's different, again, is he, she, and it. Okay, how do you feel about this?
Good.
Good? Yes? Okay. How do you feel about this when you're speaking? Like in our 90 seconds of speaking? Is this easy to remember?
Because we get nervous, I guess that's why we forgot the time.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and that's why we do that 90 seconds of speaking, because the more you practice like speaking when you're nervous, then it'll get easier, right? And so, yes, that's good. So we're just reviewing this because I know like if I gave you a worksheet, this would be really easy for you. But in the speaking, it's a little more difficult. Yeah? Okay. Good. All right. So questions. Let's do some questions. Okay, so we do optional. Okay, optional question word. That's the first thing. So that's optional, so you don't have to have it. All right. Do or does goes next. So you have to have do or does for regular verbs. All right. And then the person. This is our formula for questions. And then the second verb. So to nd equals second. Just in case you didn't know. Okay? To nd equals second. And then here's all the extra information. So like, we'll do some examples. So, you're going to use do for I, you, we, and they. And you're going to use does for he, she, and it. And again, the second verb doesn't have the S. Okay? So let me do, here, let's do an example. Okay, here. Okay, so positive, negative question. Okay? He writes. What's the negative? He doesn't write. Good. Okay, so let's do the question. So are we going to use do or does? For he, right? We're going to use does. And then the person, he. And then our second verb is
Right.
right, with no S, because our S is here. Okay? Does he write? So with he, she, and it, you only need one S. Okay? With he, she, and it, you only need one S. Okay. Oh, Noelia, do you need another notebook? Is that the one I gave you?
Yeah.
Okay, here. Take one of these. So for your notes. There you go. And then I'll teach this. Okay? Okay, so how do you feel about questions? Yeah? Okay, we'll practice a lot on questions. All right. So real quickly, short answers. Okay, so let's say if I said, Alexia, do you live in Richardson? She could say, yes, I live in Richardson. But that's a repeat of the question, right? It's unnecessary. It's not necessary for her to say it again. So she could say instead, if I said, Alexia, do you live in Richardson? She could say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay? And that means that information in the question that I asked, living in Richardson, she's saying yes. Okay? So, do you live in Richardson? Yes, I do. Okay? Iris, do you live in Plano? So, what would it be? No. Right. No, I don't. Okay? Let's see. Noelia. Okay, I'm gonna give you a challenge. Does your husband, let's see, let me think. Does your husband ride a bicycle to work?
No, he doesn't.
Yes, good. Okay, so no. So for he, she, and it, you're gonna, or I'm sorry, for I, you, we, and they, we would use you or do or don't, right? So let's see. Do your children speak French? No, they don't, right? Do we come to class on Tuesdays? No, we don't. Okay? So do and don't would be for these. For he, she, and it, you're going to use he does or he doesn't. Okay? So, Iris, does Sophia have a sister?
Yes, I do.
So, does Sophia have a
Oh.
sister? She does. Yes, right? Sophia does. Yeah.
See that?
She does, right? Don't you have an older daughter?
No.
How many children? You have 3 children.
Mhm.
A son and 2 girls, right? Son and 2 daughters?
Yes, she does.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Yes.
Sophia and Michelle.
Yes. So, does Sophia have a sister? Yes, she does. Okay. Does Sophia have 2 brothers? No, she doesn't.
Oh.
Right? Okay. So for he, she, and it, we would use she does, she doesn't, he does, he doesn't. Those are the short answers. Okay? And is it correct for you to say, yes, Sophia has a sister, or no, she doesn't have 2 brothers? Yeah, of course. Like you can, if this is confusing to you or you're like nervous, of course you can just repeat the question. That's fine. And we'll understand you, but this makes it sound more natural, right? This makes it sound more natural. Like when my husband and I are making our grocery list, then he'll be like, oh, do we have milk? And I'll say, yes, we do. Or no, we don't. Right? It's just something, it's like naturally that's how we talk with the short answer. Okay? Okay. So let's do positive, negative questions. So here's the person, I. The verb is walk. And then the extra information is to school. So the positive would be, I walk, no S, because it's I, to school. Okay? And then you do the negative and the question.
I don't walk.
I don't walk to school. Good. So let's go back up here to the question. So are we going to use do or does?
Oh, for the question?
Yeah. Do. Right. So you could put you or I, okay, as the person. Do you walk to school? Do I walk to school? Sometimes we'll use this, do I walk to school, for like clarification. So if Alexia says, hey Beth, do you walk to school? And I'm like, wait, I didn't hear it. Like, do I walk to school? So you can ask it for like clarification. So make sure that you understood the question. Okay? Questions about that? No? Iris? Questions? No? Okay. So do positive, negative question. Same thing with she drive to work. Okay? So she drive to work. You don't understand?
Oh, she drives.
She drives,
Mira.
yeah,
Ujú.
with the S.
Igual tienes que ser en positivo, negativo y pregunta.
She drives to work. And then the negative. You have the negative, Noelia?
Oh, okay. She doesn't drive to work.
Okay, and then Alexia, do you have the question?
Does she drive to work?
Perfect. Does she drive to work? Okay. Good. All right. How do you feel about this? Good, so, bad. Good? Okay, Iris, you're so. All right, that's fine. Okay, so real quickly, so these are all for regular verbs. Eat, drive, learn, speak, okay? There is an irregular present tense, okay, and we're going to talk about to be. So, I am, right? I am from the United States. You are. He, she, it is. Is. We are. Y'all. You. Yes. So in Texas, well, in the south of the United States, we use this word y'all. It's like ustedes. That's the same meaning. Okay? And so in the south, we'll say y'all. But if you use that word like in New York or California, they'll laugh at you. You said y'all, right? It's just a southern United States. So like Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia. That's when we use y'all. Okay? And then in other places, they have other ones like use guys. That's one that like I think they say up in like New York, Boston area. So anyway, in different parts of the United States, the you plural has different words.
Why they have different words? It should be like,
Yeah, I mean it's because it's really interesting actually, like, and I'm sure it's the same in Spanish where like different parts of Mexico might use different words for, I think like the word pig, like there's lots of different words to like different ways to say pig, right? And so it just depends on where you're from. And so sometimes, yeah, like there will be people from up north that say things and I'm like, what? We don't say that. We don't use that. Here's an example. In Texas, if you're at a restaurant and you want like Coca-Cola or a Sprite or a Dr. Pepper, you can say, I want a Coke, right? And then they'll say, okay, what kind of Coke do you want? And so I want a Coke in Texas doesn't mean only Coca-Cola. It could be you want a Pepsi or a root beer. And so in other parts, it's crazy to them, right? They say I want a soda or I want a pop. And so they have different words for those things. Yeah, so it just kind of depends on where you live. And actually, even like the speed that like in the south people usually speak slower, and like in the north in like New York and Washington DC people speak faster. So even like the speed with which people speak is different depending on where you live. So it's pretty interesting. What's up?
Okay. You're Noella, and you are Alexa. Okay. Okay, yours hasn't gone through yet. I was checking to see.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, did we do it with you?
Yeah, you did it with her.
Okay.
She was the first one.
She was first, and then.
No, you did her first.
Oh, I don't know. Okay. I don't know why, but yours went through. It may take a little longer.
Okay, well if it doesn't, we can try again on Wednesday.
I know,
First
that's
of
all
all.
I have to do. Okay, I was just trying to make sure I had the right people.
Okay.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. All right. So everyone is are. I am is irregular, and he is, and then everyone else is are. Okay? Alright, how do you make this negative? So up here we have to use don't and doesn't, right? How do we make to be negative?
I am not.
Yes. Okay, so you just put the word not after the verb. So I am not. Okay? There's no contraction for am not. There is a contraction for I am. I'm, right? I'm not from Mexico. Okay? Let's do, okay, what would you, negative,
You are not.
are not. So you just put the not after the verb. Okay? So you could say you're not or you aren't. There's two contractions, two possible contractions with that one. So you're not or you aren't. Okay?
One with the person and one with the.
Right. So one with you are, you're not, and then one with you are not, aren't. Yeah. You aren't or you're not. Yeah. And then, okay, so he is not, right? What's the contraction for that one? He isn't. Or he's not. So kind of the same as you are. So he is, he's not. Or he is not, isn't. Okay, those are the contractions. So the same, we are not. We aren't, we are not. Okay, so that's the same with all of these. It would be the same. Okay, what about questions with the verb to be?
You should use the are or am first.
Yes. Okay, so when you're making questions and the verb has to be, then the to be verb goes first. So let's do this. You are married. So the question would be, are you married? Okay. So let's do that real quick. So I'm going to write this. You are married. Right? That's the positive. So the question, you just put the to be verb first. So are you married? Okay, so let's. Have you done this before? It's fun. I like it. So you text the answer and it shows up here. Yeah, it's fun. All right. Drink what? Only 3 ladies today. We have 7 students in the class and 3 of you came. So a couple people are sick. One person had a doctor's appointment. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to make a question, all right? And here's the answer. Okay, so it costs $7. So when you see the stars, this is the answer that I want you to make the question about, right? So, for example, this is what? Costs, right? So our question word is going to be how much? So see, here's our question word, and then do or does. Does it cost? Okay? So how much does it cost? So you can type in your phone, you type that answer, this whole thing, how much does it cost, and send, and it'll show up here. Okay?
So I go to the get started.
You don't have, okay, so go back to your messages. Yeah, so just type it in here. Yeah, in the text message. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, I like to use this website.
And send it?
Yes. Yay! All right, cool. Okay, so the next one, I am not going to give you the answer. Okay. All right. Did you send it, Iris? Not yet.
How much is it?
How muchas doce cost? All right, let's do the next one. Okay, so class begins at 8:45 a.m. So I want the question word that you're going to use is going to answer this. Okay? It's asking about that. Okay, so what? Okay, what? Ooh, okay. Good. Okay, so what time? Okay. So let's look. Okay, so can someone tell me there's one problem with this one. Can you tell me what the problem is? Look. I'll give you a hint. Uh-huh. What time does the class begin? Right? We have our S here on does, so we don't need it on begin. Yeah? Alright, and then here, so you don't need the at. You can just say what time does the class begin, or you could use the question word when. Okay? When does the class begin?
When does the class begin?
And actually, okay, so there are a few things in English that don't need the. It's fine. It's okay. But you don't need the. So you could just say, what time does class begin? So with school, work, and church, you don't need to use the.
School, church, and
Work. And so like class is included in school. Okay? So I'm going to work, right? I'm going to work. I don't need the. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm going to the park. But with school, work, and church, you don't have to use the. Okay? Good. Good job. Okay. All right, next one. Okay, so the answer is I live in Richardson.
So what question word?
that one. That was an easy one. Where do you live? Good. If we changed it to she, Noelia, what would the question be? If we change it to Noelia lives in Richardson, what would the question be?
Where
Where does
she live?
where does she live? Good. Okay. Okay. Oh wait, I'm sorry. So look at this one. The answer is yes, I work in an office.
Yes, repeating the question, right?
It's repeating. Yeah, so if the answer is, if it's a yes or no question, there's no question word. You're just doing this. Do or does is the first word.
Do you work in the office?
Yeah. Do you work in an office? Yes, I work in an office. Yeah. Good. And we know that we're using an because office starts with a vowel, right? A-E-I-O-U. Okay, good. Do you work in an office? Okay. Good. Okay. Next. Ooh, okay, so here's a no question. They don't send emails to families every week. So the answer is no. So you're not going to use a question word. You just start with do or does.
Do they send emails every week? Or I have to write the family?
So do they send emails every week? I think you would have to include the families to make it clear. And honestly, for this we would probably just do a short answer, right? Like, do they send emails to families every week? No, they don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you did that, then you wouldn't know what the question was. So, okay, so yes, do they send emails to families every week? Good. So if it's a yes or no question, you're just gonna do or does. You don't need the question word, right? If it's a yes or no question, it's just do or does. Okay. Okay, I have 2 children. So what would the question be? So you do need a question word for this one.
How many children do you have?
Yes. Yes. How many?
Oh.
How many? Good. How many children do you have? So with how many, you're going to put what you're asking about before do. So how many eggs do we have? How many chickens do you have? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So with how many, you put how many what? The thing that you're asking about. Okay? How many whatever, the thing, do you have? Good. Okay. Ooh, okay. I come to school because I want to help my children. So because, what would our question word be? Yes.
It sounds right, or why do you?
So, okay, that's a good question. We'll talk about it in just a second. This is a correct, like grammatically it's correct. This verb is in the simple present, so you would want to use do. So this is present continuous. We'll talk about that on Thursday or Wednesday. But it's a good, I mean, it's fine, Noelia. Like, yes. Why do you come to school? So Noelia's is, so the difference between these is ¿por qué vienes a la escuela? Right? ¿Por qué estás viniendo a la escuela? So in this case, there's not much of a difference between those. But the answer is in simple present, so probably you want to use the simple present question, not present continuous. Okay? We'll go over that present continuous on Wednesday. All right. You ready, Iris? Why do you come to school? Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. So this one is tricky. All right. I want to see if you know this one. So I want you to do that. The answer is I cook dinner every day. Okay. No, this is a hard one. Okay. So, do you cook dinner? That's a fine question, right? But then our answer would have to be yes. I cook dinner every day. Okay? So, if we're trying to use a question word and the answer is I, what word would we use? Do you know?
Are?
So, no.
I?
So think about the question word. So is it how much, why, when, where? Do you know it?
How often? No. When?
Who? Okay, so the answer that I want you to give is a person, right? I. So who? Okay, so who is a strange question. All right? So instead of saying this, that sounds really strange. It's not correct. It doesn't sound good. When we use the question word who, we're going to just do this. Who cooks dinner every day? I cook dinner every day. Who cooks dinner every day? So when you use the question word who, doesn't like. Yeah, and so even like negative. So who cooks dinner every day? Who even in the negative you would do this. Who doesn't cook dinner every day? Who cooks dinner every day? Who doesn't cook dinner every day? Okay? So that's a weird one. Who? Alright. Good. Let's see, we have 3 minutes. Okay, let's see. Do you have any questions about this? Your packet is practice on these kinds of things. So it should just be more practice. It will not be that hard for you. Yeah. And then on Wednesday we'll talk about present continuous. And then next week we're going to do past and future. Just sort of like a review. Okay? Yes? No questions? All right, you're so quiet today. We need more students to be, these are our quiet students. Cool. All right, so you all got here on time. So that's what we'll do. So you bring your kids in here. I'll do the temperature check. We fill out the screener, and then you take your kids there. Okay? I think next Monday is a school vacation. Yeah, I know, right? It's Martin Luther King Day. So I don't think we have class next Monday. Stupid. Already, I know.
Okay, so we can this one?
Yes, you take that home. That's your packet. So every day, I'll send the answers to that in the afternoons, so you can do it and check your answers. Okay? And then if you have any questions about that, like circle it, and when you come back on Wednesday, say, I don't understand this, and I'll help you. Okay? Yeah. All right. No questions? You're good?
Do we have to send the pictures for the homework, or you just review when you send the picture?
I tell you what, the only time you really need to send me a picture is if there's something you don't understand, or if like on the homework it says write a paragraph or something, then I want to see a picture of your paragraph, but like just filling out the worksheet, I don't need to see that. Okay? Yeah, good question. All right. Okay, let's go. Come on, we'll go get your kids.
No, ahora no toca. Sí, me gusta.
I know. Well, we're starting with this an hour and a half. We'll see how it goes. If we need more time, we might make it longer, but you're like, no children, right? We can have nap time, yeah? Nap time from 10:15 to 10:45. Adult nap time.
Lisa, you want me to make a notebook?
No, that's your notebook that you can take home. Yeah. So you have a notebook that stays here with me, and then a notebook that you can take home. So y'all come this way. You can just come with them.
¿Trae niños?
No.